Welcome back, hopefully, law-abiding individual. Engaging guilt-tripping subroutines. You haven't committed any crimes lately, have you? Please speak clearly into this unit's recording instruments. Understood. This unit requires a moment to process this information. Information processed. Personal designation upgraded to acting constable. Thank you, law-abiding consumer. This unit concurs with your inference. Unapprehended killers are likely to continue killing. This unit has been programmed to adhere to board law. This unit is incapable of experiencing murderous or unlawful impulses. This unit has been programmed to recommend a wine to pair with your grief. Wash away your sorrows with a glass of highly concentrated, partially fermented purple berry wine. Has a body richer than Byzantium's elite, with an earthy aftertaste redolent of mostly oak. Purple berry wine, coming soon. From Rizzo's.
Inspector, not a moment too soon. I've just finished my autopsy report. Oh, don't be so squeamish. You won't find any viscera under my fingernails. I trimmed them just this morning. Ruth Bellamy was killed by plasma damage to the upper vertebrae, the occipital bone, and the cerebellum. If it's any consolation, her death was instantaneous and painless. I've also discovered a poisonous compound in Miss Bellamy's stomach lining ingested during her last meal. Toxic, but not enough to kill her. Spencer Woolrich complained of a stomach ailment around the same time period. I assumed he was being, Spencer. But now I'm not so sure. The thought occurred to me. I tested this hypothesis by vacating the contents of my stomach and testing for the presence of the same toxin. Slightly elevated levels of mercury and an alarming amount of blue food coloring. But other than that, no. I'm certain it wasn't, as you put it, just the hotel food. Oh, how curious. I do believe you're right. I wonder if this has something to do with the autopsy process. She was Halcyon Helen up until the moment I brought her to the operating table. But as soon as I cut her open, I stopped thinking of her as Halcyon Helen. It's almost as if she stopped being an icon and became a human being. You're a freelancer of some repute. Surely you're no stranger to seeing the interior organs of a human being. Although I suspect you do most of your work with a gun and not a scalpel. What? Sorry, this mask. Sometimes I can't hear correctly. It almost sounded like you said Maria Keene was dead. Maria's been killed. I don't understand. How? Who did this? Rather harmless on its own. Common ingredient in medicine, but it can have a lethal application. Potassium chloride, when delivered in a cocktail of neurotoxin and paralytic, leads to cardiac arrest. Oh, merciful law. I'm so sorry, Maria. Maria and I were frequently at loggerheads. We disagreed on practically everything. It didn't help that I'm on Mr. Kincannon's payroll and Maria is a Rizzo's loyalist. Was a Rizzo's loyalist. Apologies, Inspector. I don't have the heart to continue talking at the moment. Thank you for your time.
You're here. I hope you have the photon proto-distributor, or we're never leaving this damn facility. That was from the Twin Spies. I played a sentient mechanical. Ask me anything at all. I might even give you a straight answer. Indeed. The agonizing bowel pain was most undignifying. While I've certainly had no shortage of inadequate hotel meals, this was most explicitly pronounced. I suspect poison. And who would be most likely to poison me but Chef Anwar? Oh, we've clashed almost non-stop about his slop preparation. He must have tainted my meal in retaliation. None that I can think of. I treat all hotel staff equally, and with the minimum level of respect that they deserve. Is that a jibe? Could you imagine the tabloid headlines? Spencer Woolrich, Aetherwave star, spotted in gastronomic distress. Oh, unseemly hardly describes the half of it. How alarming! Whoever targeted her was certainly targeting me. I can only thank my ironclad constitution that I'm standing here before you. Oh, that's very good to know. Perhaps the poisoner simply meant to incapacitate us both, disrupt the product launch. I couldn't say, Inspector. I'm merely an actor. Very well, then. Oh, have you now? Please do go on. Don't leave me in suspense. Yes. I distinctly recall ordering an alcoholic beverage with my meal. This hotel is certainly bringing a new meaning to the phrase rotgut. Management shall receive the complaint to end all complaints. I did indeed. With Halcyon Helen parading her fame about, I was left without an acting partner. Burbage is no exception. His acting protocols were nothing short of a joke. So I decided to make some modifications, installing him with some of my old serial quotes, as I think improved his range. The way he bungled about with that weapon of his hardly befitted a dissident, so I modified it as well. He's much quicker on the draw now, though he's still a machine. I'm quite used to being breathlessly watched.
Yes? Are you here for the double rack of smoked sprat? Well, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but you'll have to wait. Oh, don't give me that look. Let me see if I can pencil you in for later. Actually, what am I saying? I can't do that. I'm booked for the next month. You'll have to make a reservation. Crime or no crime, I must keep my head on my work. One does not simply become the head chef in all of Eridanos by fretting over irrelevant happenings. You're the inspector? Here? Why? I mean, you may ask me whatever you want. I have nothing to hide. Of course I did. I would never allow anyone else to touch the meals of so important a guest. Oh my law, this is the end, isn't it? My mother always warned me that the culinary world was too dangerous, but I didn't heed her warnings. Okay, I wasn't the one who did it, but I might have been mistaken when I said I was constantly watching Helen's food. Spencer Woolrich and Bellhop Owens were underfoot in the kitchen as I was preparing Helen's meal. Either one of them could have tampered with the food when I was fetching ingredients. I understand your reluctance, but... Oh, I just remembered. The kitchen security camera. It'll prove I'm telling the truth about everything. Constable Keene has access to the security footage in her office at the spaceport. If you visit her, you can figure out what truly happened with Helen's meal. Well, it's a breach of professionalism, of course. Why else would I worry about it? Well, I suppose that's as good a point as any I've heard. I may have taken some time to engage in a teensy bit of recreational drinking, and consequently, I may have been somewhat less than coherent after preparing Helen's meal. Yes, but not specifically. Owens often procures exotic ingredients from the creatures at the Wilderness Exploitation Reserve. Our guests can be rather particular. Let's not talk about the incident with the Raptidon pheromone glands. It's always hard to say when Owens might be back. If I were you, I'd make a trek to the reserve myself. Otherwise, who knows how long you'll have to wait. Mr. Woolrich often finds the hotel's meals wanting. He seems to enjoy complaining in person. While I could appreciate someone with a discerning palate for once, I believe that Mr. Woolrich simply enjoys the attention he gets from us. Though don't tell him I said as much. If you wish to speak with him, Mr. Woolrich can most likely be found in his suite on the VIP guest floor. He's usually there if he's not poking around here. Thank you for your understanding, Inspector. I'm sure you'll find the true culprit before long.
Analysis confirms this is Evan O'Connell. Analysis also confirms he is dead. Per additional study of this body's skeletal structure, the cause of death was head trauma. Further analysis indicates Evan's fatal injuries were sustained from blunt force trauma to the back of the skull when his head collided with the ground. Respiratory analysis concludes Evan was not intoxicated at time of death. There are traces of blood on Evan's hands, Inspector. Analysis concludes this blood is human, type A. Medical records indicate Evan O'Connell's blood is type O. Medical records indicate Amelia Stillwell's blood is indeed type A. Great work, Inspector. If you wish to question Amelia Stillwell, Slug's scheduling records indicate that she is presently on duty at the Pilot House checkpoint.
Non-Slug personnel aren't permitted on the Pilot House. Can I help you with something? Sure. He in trouble or something? You're kidding! Evan's dead? That doesn't... I don't understand. Can I ask what happened? We were supposed to haul some crates, but he was sloshed when I got there. Figured he got into the cargo or something, you know? He wasn't gonna be any help, so I figured he could sleep it off in one of the employee rooms under the hotel. Left him on one of the beds in A2. He seemed fine. You won't believe me if I tell you. You what? Well, shit. Maybe you will believe me. I walked Evan to A2, like I said, and then, out of nowhere, he just came at me. One minute he's laughing and yelling about sharing his joy, and the next, he's choking the life out of me. Grinned the whole time he was trying to kill me, too. Dumb luck, I guess. I got a good hit in, threw him off, and ran like hell. If I'd known the fall killed him, I don't know. I should have told someone. What do you want to know? I can't help you there. Have you been to Purpleberry Orchards, Inspector? Awfully nice out there. You should visit. Anytime. Because Evan would never attack anyone. I barely believe he attacked me, and I was there. Guess it shook me up pretty good. Evan's always been a total sweetheart. I don't get it. Law, this is making less and less sense. I didn't actually see him drink, if that's what you're asking. Just seemed like the logical explanation, considering how weird he was acting. Real energetic, but also totally out of it. He was grinning like a fool the whole time, even when he attacked me. I don't know. The whole thing shook me up something fierce, but I'm still here. I'm upset. Angry at Evan. Sad about him being... Scared folks won't believe me. I'm not much for math, so I couldn't tell you how that averages out. But thanks for asking. So, what happens now, Inspector? Fair enough. I just wish I could understand why he did what he did. Evan is... he was my friend. Or I thought he was. I don't know. I hope you're able to make more sense of this than I can, Inspector.
Inspector, you find my missing man? Shit, that's fucking inconvenient. What happened? That hullhead. Oh, that's embarrassing. If he's gonna die and leave me short-staffed, he ought to at least have the decency to get mauled by raptidons or something. That's unusual, but I don't see how that factors in. Good for you. That's a nice go-getter attitude you got there. I hope you do figure it out, but my involvement ends here. I gotta figure out who the fuck's replacing Evan. We're short-staffed as it is. A new day, a new pain in my ass.
You're back! Any luck finding what we need for the Terra Ray grounder? Excellent! I should finally be able to get this thing working. Here, take this. It's the least I can do for all your help against those leathery abominations. Oh wait, there's one more thing. You don't happen to have a pinwheel, do you? It'll help generate electricity as we move through the atmosphere. Plus, all Rizzo's products are supposed to have an element of whimsy. Great. I'll give you a nice bonus if you bring one back to me.
Oh, hey there, stranger. Don't mean to interrupt your business, but have you seen a stray mechanical wandering about? Hey, that's pretty good. I'll have to use that at my next mechanics meeting. But I take by your tone that you ain't seen anything matching my machine's description. Oh, that's not good. I hope she hasn't gotten herself into any trouble. Oh, I ain't no hunter. At least not in the traditional sense. Wrenches always suited me better than firearms. A mechanical under my care up and wandered off, that's all. I gotta get her back before anyone notices that either of us are missing. The shopkeep says I should buy one of his rifles and go looking myself, but like my machine, I'm not combat inclined. Betty's just your standard tripod mechanical, though she probably is still wearing my hat. Without it, she seems kind of naked. Her main purpose is cacao milking, but the only cacaos in the reserve are close. Without a directive, she shouldn't have had reason to wander away from the milking area.
Nothing a few dozen rounds of processing and human trials can't fix.
Gonna need to find Betty in the first place before anything can or can't happen with what she's milked. I'm contractually obligated to inform you that slug mechanicals are not notoriously inclined to malfunction, and any rumors to the contrary are slander. But yeah, usually even slug machines don't get lost on their own, so I guess I'm to blame. Setting Betty's search parameters is my job. Must have added a 0 where I shouldn't have. Hey, I ain't in the habit of intentionally losing company property. That'd be one hell of a violation. Besides, I'm rather fond of Betty. This is all just an unfortunate cycle of events. If you can help rectify it and get me my Betty back, I'll give you everything I got. Hey, thanks so much. It would have been mighty lonely without her. Being unemployed, I mean. Be lonely being unemployed. If you find Betty, try sneaking up and hacking her. If you can't do that, Finding a way to stop her current routines should send her back home.
Welcome to Hunter Legal's Legal Hunter Supplies. I am Hunter Legal. How might I help you today? I'm sure I don't know what you mean. It is a perfectly normal name for a shop dispensing hunter supplies. No, these are supplies for hunters. Hunter supplies. It works either way. It works either way. Boy, damn it. I wish I thought to get that sign switched out when I changed my name. Where better to sell hunter supplies than in the depths of the wilds, surrounded by creatures that are just waiting to devour you? I've got an excuse, but the Prophet and her retreat don't. And they're even farther out. Prophet said I should gift her some rifles to improve my aura or something. I told her what she could do with her aura. Haven't spoken to her since. But you look like you're smart enough to not make the decision that she'll invariably regret. Unusual. This whole land complex is a failed wildlife exhibition turned hunting reserve. You can't go 10 feet without stepping in unusual. But I reckon you're asking about people unusual. I'd go have a chat with the prophet of profitability. Maybe she can intuit you in the right direction or something. But she is mighty far in the depths of the reserve. Perhaps you should purchase one of my fine armaments for the journey.
Hey, I almost can't believe it. Betty found her way back. Here I was thinking I'd never see her again. Oh, Betty, you big goof. What were you thinking in that little metal noggin of yours? You nearly worried me to death. And ain't you just the most reliable freelancer in the colony? Let me just take a look at Betty here and we'll talk about payment. Yep, that's right. Her parameters for movement and target acquisition are a mess. I'll bring her back to the garage and get her sorted out. Since Betty's back safe and sound, I'll be sure to let my coworkers know that you're a good one. Here's some money for your effort. Least I can do to show my thanks. Oh, I won't be turning my back on Betty again, believe me. Thanks again for all your help. You really saved us both from the edge.
Sorry, but we're a little busy right now. I'm sure one of the other guides would be happy to give you a tour.
Lawrence, do you know who you're talking to? We always have time for the inspector.
The inspector? That's you? I am so sorry. We didn't know what we were doing. We're so sorry. It'll never happen again. Oh, Law, it's all over. I told you someone would catch on sooner or later, Belle.
Lawrence, let me do the talking here. Inspector, pay him no mind. I'm sure you've bigger saltuna to can than us. Don't pay him any mind, Inspector. His upper story's a little gap-toothed, if you know what I mean. But seeing as you insist on sticking your... That is, since you're so curious, I'll fill you in on what we're doing. We, misplaced some people on our last tour. Misplaced them in the maws of some local predators. Now we're stuck here wondering how to get their room keys. Might have been Raptidons. I find it hard to tell them apart, especially when my glasses get fogged up.
So when you say lost, you mean left behind, so you could make a clean getaway.
You make it sound like we did this on purpose. If we had, we'd have been smart enough to get their room keys back first. Hey, we all got our priorities. Not worrying about those keys ain't gonna bring their owners back from the dead. Anyway, the sooner we get those keys back, the sooner we can make it look like the ex-guests checked out early.
Wouldn't you? I mean, the dangers were all listed in fine print on the waivers they signed. Least they can do is not destroy our reputation when they get themselves killed. We knew sooner or later this was gonna happen. We've got some hush money tucked away. If you can get those keys for us, it's all yours.
You kidding? You're welcome to.
Our bosses would want this situation resolved, just like us. We're the real victims here. The dead can't suffer anymore, but we can, and we will if we have to pay for all these lost keys. Did I just hear that right? The inspector is going to help us, Bill! Thank the stars!
We're not out of the woods yet. Let's just see what happens before we celebrate. We last saw the guests deeper in the wilderness, Inspector. That'd be a good place to look.
Identifying human footprints leading out into the wilderness. It is unusual for productivity disciples to wander more than a few feet from the camp. Scanning. No. Helen's distinctive shoe size, not found. Judging by footprint depressions and shoe size, these prints were either made by the Prophet of Profitability or Adjutant Sophia Akande. Error. Recalibrating. These footprints were made by the Prophet of Profitability. Judging by the shape of this indentation in the dirt, a person of medium height and build laid here for a number of hours. Scanning for other details. Only additional signs of disturbance are a few marks in the dirt. No sign of struggle or evidence of wildlife consumption of body. Suspected likelihood of user correctness, 86%.
About time somebody came the hell back. I notice you're not spattered in blood, which doesn't bode particularly well. For you. I hope you're not about to tell me you lost your nerve. Oh? I thought for sure with your armaments that you'd be with the other hunters. Pardon my tomfoolery, stranger. I see I've mistaken you for someone else. Victoria Foxworth, Rizzo's executive clerical actuator. Pleased to meet you. Might I ask what brings you to the reserve? A professional, I see. I don't know anything about any murder, but you might be just who I'm looking for. There's a particular task that my hunters haven't yet been capable enough to complete. I wonder if you'd have any interest in it. As you may be aware, Slug currently owns the reserve, but it rightfully belongs to Rizzo's. There's an ex-Rizzo's employee currently in possession of the land grant for the entire complex. Insult to injury from Slug. And evidence that this complex is rightfully ours. This particular individual is up there in years. His mind is failing. Leaving the land grant to him is like leaving it in the trash. I would like you to retrieve it. I would have thought so too, but I sent my scouts out ages ago and none have yet returned. The old man's certainly too senile to be a threat, but it's possible Slug put him under guard. You're not recognizably with Rizzo's, thus it shall be easier for you to get close. You mean you don't know the story? This atmospheric complex was first annexed by Rizzo's. We'd planned a lovely wildlife-themed attraction to be built here. Alas. Due to some backhanded and admittedly shrewd legal footwork on Slug's part, Rizzo's ownership of the complex was lost. Now we rent it from Slug. I seek only to have what was stolen returned to us. Solve the situation however you like, so long as you bring me the land grant. The target in question lives out in the woods, exactly where I'm not certain. Best of luck.
Analysis suggests this to be a variety of herbs. Herbs have been uniformly treated with a pungent chemical mix. Warning: ingesting, smoking, or inserting non-corporation sanctioned substances into your ears may be harmful to your health. Side effects from extended exposure include dizziness, nausea, and unconsciousness. Additional likelihood of organ shutdown and/or death. Prior analysis suggests these herbs reach peak effectiveness when users burn them and inhale the resulting smoke. Whether or not this increased effectiveness is good for an afflicted individual has yet to be determined. Analyzing. Complete. Substance appears to be a mix of industrial solvents and various essential oils. Substances include woolly cow dander remover, sprat oil, and starship surface wax. Hypothesizing. Potential side effects from herb consumption. Most likely outcome, decapitation. Slight possibility of calculation error.
Fruitful and productive welcome, brother. I had a feeling you would visit me. I offer a wide variety of productivity seminars. I hope you'll consider taking one. But I should remember my manners. To what do I owe the pleasure of the Special Inspector's arrival? We indoctrinate people in the back. Wait. That was a jibe, wasn't it? With that said, I'd love to involve you in one of my productivity seminars. We should clear you of all those nasty, nasty humors hampering your potential. Absolutely not. Any statements by Ms. Helen about us were blown out of proportion and altered by the media. In fact, she quite recently... excuse me. I seem to be remembering something that never happened. Whatever the case, I'm sure her speech about us was all a misunderstanding. We offer a wide variety of seminars for all your corporate needs. Employees not working hard enough? Employees dying too often? It's most likely your managerial humors. And of course, seminars for balancing the energies of your business offices. Interior decorating is much more important for success than many would believe. If any of this sounds at all interesting to you, might I interest you in the first 82 words of our most popular seminar's introduction? Free of charge. Byzantines live lives fraught with competition, and that competition can be immensely stressful. You must, first of all, find a way to balance your thinking. Think not of bits lost, but of those you have yet to gain. After all, peace leads to productivity, and productivity leads to profit. Though thought alone won't balance you. We have a strict regimen to promote humor clearing. Session attendees stand on burning coals, sit for hours in our productivity smokehouse, and of course, fast throughout. Precisely! The barriers within yourself will break down as your skin sweats and blisters, giving the evil humors the proper space to escape. It's my patented method. Oh? I'm surprised. I wouldn't think the two of us would have much to discuss about her. We may have had some terse interactions before her death, which I most certainly regret. But beyond those, well, never mind. What would you care to know? I wouldn't necessarily say that. The media tends to exaggerate. I will admit that her remarks about my seminars were rather unfortunate. However, I certainly wouldn't sharpen any sabers over it, if that's what you mean to imply. I only do that when my clients skimp on their bills. I did not. She had no interest in my seminars, and I had no interest in attempting to convert a stubborn actress. Why would I have had any cause to engage with her further? Why, I've been at the Wilderness Exploitation Reserve for quite some time now, as my disciples can attest. In fact, I haven't visited the Colonials since I arrived several weeks ago. Bad energies, you understand. I hope you now realize that I had nothing to do with Helen's demise. I'm pleased that you noticed. Excellent eye, brother. The compound they're treated with is my own invention, designed to unlock an individual's true productive potential when burned. I can't say any more. Trade secrets, you know. None of my clients have ever complained, so I'm sure they're perfectly safe. Is there anything else? Oh, really? What did you find there? What did I dump? That all sounds like hearsay, brother. Perhaps your humors are off balance and confusing your sense of justice. Perhaps you could use a seminar. I'm delighted to extend my desire to aid you, brother. How might I assist?
Hello! Welcome to the Prophet of Profitability's Private Prosperity Retreat. Stay positive, and soon all your humors will be balanced. Least, that's what I keep telling myself. Anyway, I'm Aaliyah Mason. I work as the Prophet's right-hand woman. What can I do for you? If you felt imbalanced and unproductive, linger in your malaise no longer. We have all the amenities and practices for calming the ill humors strangling your potential. Sit for hours in our sweat house and sweat them out. Or stand amidst burning coals and feel your productive inhibitions burn away. And remember, think positive. Positivity equals productivity equals profitability. Of course, I've been studying under her for years. I know each of her techniques more or less by heart, and even have some variations of my own, such as the quintuple daily stomach purges. She's promised me that I'd be allowed to open my own branch of the retreat someday soon. Of course, I've been waiting on someday soon for coming up on 4 years now. I'm sure it's gonna happen anytime now. Oh, terribly sorry if I gave you that impression. I had a cramp. It's better now. I mean, it might be nice if I had a little inclination of whether the Prophet appreciated all the cooking and cleaning and hours of meditation I do on a daily basis. But whatever she thinks isn't for me to question. I'll do my best to be more chipper. Oh my. Yes, this is important enough for me to delay my bi-hourly self-flagellation. Ask away. Yes, the circumstances there are quite unfortunate. For a time, the Prophet was completely despondent. Even the hot coal walks weren't buoying her spirits as they usually do. However, we recently had a high-profile visitor whose presence seemed to alleviate whatever the Prophet's fears were. I'm actually not entirely certain. It was a surreptitious visit that stood out because it was surreptitious. Whoever it was must have paid the Prophet quite a lot to keep things quiet. At least that's the only reason I can think of for intentionally keeping things so hush-hush. Well, by and large, no. But something rather odd did happen regarding the Prophet recently. A few hours after our high-profile visitor arrived a couple of days ago, the Prophet asked me to take over sessions for the remainder of the day. At first, I was excited. Thought it was my chance to show her what I could do in charge. But then I saw that she was deeply worried about something. No one saw her until the next day. I was here at the retreat in the company of the other disciples and clients. I rarely have more than a few minutes of alone time. Which is fine, of course. I do what I do in the service of the Prophet, who will, I'm sure, reward me for my sacrifice. Eventually. Certainly. Actually, before you go, I want to report something suspicious. I noticed the Prophet dragging something, a bundle, away from the retreat after that high-profile guest arrived. Normally, I'm the one who does her laundry, so it was strange. Especially because whatever she was dragging seemed oddly human-shaped. I think so. Had the right size and shape. I could have, but I generally don't have the time or energy to leave the reserve to contact anyone. Plus, there's always the possibility that I'm mistaken. The Prophet hasn't been herself lately, but if I misinterpreted the situation and reported her improperly, I'd ruin my chances for opening my own wing of the retreat.
What is this? Another soul willing to brave the dangers of the wilderness? How thrilling to find my paramour out here in the wilds. Virgil Henderson at your service. Board surprise auditor and 5th finest shot this side of Halcyon. Delighted to meet you. Guards, don't make me laugh. How could I conduct surprise audits with an entourage of companions? I considered establishing a base of operations at the hotel, but feared someone would spot me. Discretion is extremely important for one such as myself. I'm here to conduct a surprise audit of the local holy caves, Rizzo's lone leased property in the reserve. It is rather notedly empty. Worse, it seems the evacuation occurred without anyone filing the proper emergency paperwork. Tut tut. That's why it's a surprise. With all this in mind, there is a small issue. I actually conducted an investigation of this facility several years ago. Since my biometric data might still be registered, it's possible that my entering the facility would not be legally classified a surprise. It's a puzzle, to be sure. I may be a dashing, gunslinging space auditor, but even I know better than to question protocol. The more order there is, the less suffering. It's basic science. Suffice it to say, it doesn't behoove one of Halcyon's most prolific auditors to try to bend the rules when he thinks no one's looking. Because, my friend, someone's always looking. An uncertain suggestion. There are no shortage of legal loopholes for freelance work, but I fear setting my work on the shoulders of someone I've never met before. I may be able to hire you, but let me ask you a question to see if you're fit to represent me first. How much do you know about free market economics? That's a sufficient amount of market knowledge indeed. I knew you were the right person for the job. Head into the holy caves and see what you can find. Keep your eyes open for journals, terminals, datapads, anything that might contain info about the operation. I'm counting on you.
I don't know what it is you're looking for, stranger, but I reckon you better get. I've had about enough of you and your ilk coming by with your searching questions and expectant looks. I know you with those void-damned hunters, and I know what you want. Well, you ain't getting it. Like you don't know. That damn group of hunters that keeps coming by and hassling me. Nobody ever visits just because they want to gab with old Cyrus. No, they either want to poach me out of my land or poach me out of my best friend. Damn straight there are. Wish I could go show 'em what for, but I'm old, and I gotta make sure I don't get Callie into no trouble. Two of us have lived on the reserve for years. Every so often, someone comes by trying to steal our land grant and evict us. We hold our own, but it's mighty agitating. And do what? Go back to Rizzo's? I defected years ago. Only thing to look forward to would be a summary execution. And I don't reckon Callie'd have much interest either. Nope. Out here's where we're meant to be. Ah, I knew it! You'd quit asking if you know what's good for you. Ha! Think me a blame fool? I know a corporate greaser when I see one. You people only understand one thing. Force. Well, I sure as hell have got force! Carl! Come here!
I didn't know primals could be pets. This changes everything.
Now, what is it you were saying? Oh, sure, it'll be fine until the zoners come looking for somewhere to put a new candy refinery and find an old man and his primals squatting on their land. Oh, hell. I can see when I'm beat. Fine, then. I just hope that whoever ends up in control of the reserve takes a while divvying things up. I guess the grant to the land complex is yours, stranger. And I guess our business is complete.